Pleased to be joined now by NFL Executive Vice President of Football Operations, Troy Vincent, joining us here on the program. And one of the reasons why is because October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And Troy at the league office has a lot of initiatives that stem out from the league office, but all 32 teams are a part of this as well. And Troy, can you just first maybe outline where this whole thing started? Obviously, it's an important initiative, but how it has grown and branched out, because you guys have partnerships now through Ralliance, with innovative grants that are provided. So maybe just talk about how it's grown here over the last several years.
Yeah, well, for myself personally, and thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Absolutely,
Steve,
sure.
always great seeing you. Chris, as always. Thank you. As always, nice to just connect back with the folks from, as I would say, Orchard Park, the good people from Orchard Park. But for me personally, it started in the early mid 70s when I'm a survivor. My mother's a survivor of domestic violence and sexual assault, and I made a promise to her at the age of 16 that until as long as I'm on this earth, I will not be just a silent bystander. I will be someone that will be actively involved in ending gender-based violence. Fast forward, being a student athlete, professional athlete, frankly, after the Ray Rice incident, we as a national football league, I think as a society, it was that example that said we can do more. We can be an example. All 32 teams, led by commissioners' leadership, Anna Isaacson, but all 32 clubs, provide grants every year to multiple organizations that are doing prevention work in this area, that are doing policy work in this particular area. So it's been one, even though it's the month of October, but this issue requires daily attention. The numbers haven't changed. When you look at a woman will be assaulted or beaten every 9 seconds in the United States, 1 out of every 5 teenage girls will be threatened in her life or presented a threat in her lifetime in a breakup. It's the leading cause of violence to women. That includes muggings, rapes. Like, this is daily. But the league, the National Football League, every club has done phenomenal work in raising awareness around domestic violence and sexual assault.
And the Bills are obviously on board with this as well. I mean, we volunteer to
Yeah.
put together volunteer baskets and comfort bags for survivors of domestic violence.
Yeah, we'll be doing that next week.
We'll be doing this next week. We've done this every year now for a while. Is there another step or another level that the league would like to get to,
One, you want to end it.
Right.
So, I mean, I would say, and I should have said this I just said league efforts, but what's dear to me, and it's my relationship. I spend quite a bit of time in Western New York at Niagara University through their leadership and Father Maul. 2 years ago, my wife and I and my daughter, we decided to partner with the university at Niagara, led by Kathleen Neville and Father Maul there, on doing what we call the Vincent Commission. I am still troubled by what young men know and what they don't know about domestic violence and sexual assault based off of their experiences. So what is the Vincent Commission? We're trying to find a tool that will allow universities to do an assessment on just the young and the men. I'm focused on men because we're typically the perpetrators. We're the ones that are invoking this violence. So I've always been questioned of our why and what do we know about it. And Niagara has been a tremendous partner. The Bills work with them individually, but we're looking for an instrument that incoming college freshman men, the schools can assess exactly who's coming on their campus and what education tools are necessary to educate this population around ending domestic violence and sexual assault.
Yeah, I mean, I have a son who's a college student, and I know that he was schooled left, right, and center on the elements of consent in relationships and what all of that stuff means. And he got far more education than I ever did back when I was coming out of high school and going to college. And I know that's a small step in the right direction to avoid the situations that you're describing. So you're saying going even further than that and just creating parameters and a framework for young men to understand, where their role is in society, not only in relationships, but just with women in general.
No question. And Chris, I was brought up where that was normal. So I didn't get neighbors. It was like you see something, you say nothing. So we don't want to normalize this behavior. So the real question is, what do you actually know? And most young men don't see me taking or grabbing her cell phone or telling her how she should dress, or we don't look at that. Most young men don't see that as areas of it's control, it's power and control.
Yeah, microaggressions.
Yes, so how do we go take a step further in learning? And I just think working with Niagara and the research team to get a little bit more granular, to have things evidence-based, research-based, science-based, so that as institutions, as they implement the tool, they can truly find out and frankly get ahead of who's on our campus, but how do we educate young men as they go off and become productive citizens in society?
Well, I applaud your efforts, and it's great to see the entire league get on board with that. It's been wonderful to see him be a part of. There's also so many other things going on, and one of the things that was an issue in maybe the last 10 years, the concussion issue and the player safety has always been part of the league's agenda. And there was a big fear maybe 5 or 10 years ago that, man, moms aren't going to let their boys play tackle football, and yet flag football came out. Now it's an Olympic sport, and I know this too. In the town I live in, tackle football has gotten a big boost from the flag football leagues. That the kids say, yeah, I want to play more. I want to do this more physical game. I want to try it, and it's been a huge success all across the country. Now, like I said, an Olympic sport is going to be flag football, and who would have thought that maybe 10 or 15 years ago?
You see, and my quest in this, when it started during COVID, but when I started taking trips around the country, speaking to young women, speaking to parents, St. Mary's Academy was where I went. That was my first stop to talk to young ladies, parents, and teachers about, if you all were to create this sport for yourselves, what would it look like? What would you want? Rules, uniforms, what time of year? Again, I'm going back to this Western New York tie here, but it has exploded. There's been very few things that I've had an opportunity to be involved with post my playing career, Steve, that you go from being a participant, as you well know, to now a contributor. And I've always struggled with, how could I provide something back to the game how can I make a contribution back to the game that has done so much for me and my family? So this movement, this flag movement of creating an environment and platforms for young ladies to compete at the youth level, the high school level, the collegiate level, earn scholarships like you and I did, LA 28 Olympics. And in December, the membership, Commissioner mentioned this a couple weeks back, the membership will be voting on making an investment in a pro flag league for women and men. So it's completed the whole ecosystem, and excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, because Troy, I know you see it on a much more national level in terms of its growth. I mean, just us here in Western New York. I mean, Preston Teague and our community relations office does a fantastic job with the flag programs here in Western New York and supporting them, whether we're holding tournaments here in the field house on weekends for flag teams for girls and boys. But, I mean, we're interviewing high school coaches here on our set on the show about, like, hey, we had 10 girls last year. We had 40 try out this year. Like, that's 1 year to the next. Like, it's mushrooming here. It's crazy.
I would tell you, if not for St. Mary's, because the young ladies we brought them to the Pro Bowl. That was how we got the momentum started in the state of New York. Mm-hmm. It was parent feedback, student feedback, and now it's a true movement.
Yeah, it's been great to see. And all right, last thing for me, I got to ask you. Years ago, I was at the first Kickoff, the summit, where we tried to fix the kickoff, and and I know I talked too much in that room. I knew I did, but aside from that, You said at the very outset of that meeting that the league was committed to keeping the foot in the game. You wanted to make sure the kickoff didn't go away, and you went through an iteration, and the standing start kick started, and then this year it has really emerged at, man, it's back. It's a dynamic part of the game again. Teams are putting the ball in play, and it looks like a real football play again. And you got to be very gratified by how the kickoff and kickoff return teams are back on the roster and making contributions.
Well, Steve, most don't remember that time when you came in and you were an integral part. Why? Because most young people who don't do any research, you are a fantastic special teams player. And we talk about the 3 phases of the game. I'm not going to college if not for punt and punt return, period. And I just happened to learn how to play defensive back. And it was important at this level to keep the foot in the game. So having people like yourself involved, hey, we tried a few things, made a couple tweaks. The dynamic kickoff today, going into week 7, it has almost an 80% return rate. And we look at protecting players from unnecessary risk, we really feel like we've got to a place where, from an injury standpoint, it is equivalent to that of that scrimmage play, that offensive defensive play. So that space and speed that we talked about years ago, man, how do we reduce the risk that's associated with that space and speed and those high impact plays? It's been wonderful to see. There's been some unintended consequences on a positive side. It has changed when you look at the last 2 minutes of the game, man, is the ball going to land in the end zone? Are they going to kick it out of bounds? It has changed strategy on how people are approaching the last 4 minutes and inside of 2. So positive results today, very low injuries. As we would say, we're hoping our data says that we should be introducing maybe a little over 1,000 more active plays into the game.
Right.
It's
Awesome
awesome
stuff.
Troy, always great
Thanks,
to
Troy.
catch up with you. We appreciate the time, and we'll catch up with you down the line.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve, Chris.
Appreciate you,
Enjoy.
Troy.